Was Carol right to kill Karen and David in season 4 of The Walking Dead to help try to prevent the spread of the illness? And going a little further, was Rick right for abandoning her because of all of that? Welcome back to Lost in Games Unscripted, the series where I talk about whatever happens to be on my mind at any given time. And today, that's actually going to be Carol from The Walking Dead, specifically season 4, and specifically the situation, one of the bigger moral situations of season 4. Really, it has to do with Karen and David. And an illness spreading through. Before we get to that, though, I do want to try to do a call to action. I don't do these very often at the beginning of videos. I usually wait till the end. But I have been making videos over the past couple of years, especially covering The Walking Dead, but a lot of other types of media talking about moral and philosophical dilemmas. And so if you like that kind of thing, if you want to see more of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on anything that I do in the future. I'm going to be talking about more Walking Dead. I've got a ton of Walking Dead to cover, but I'm also going to be expanding into things like the Hunger Games and Jurassic Park. I've got some really cool moral dilemmas and stuff like that to get into as we move into the fall, especially. So keep an eye out for some of that kind of stuff here on the channel. So for those who maybe haven't watched the show in a while or who maybe have forgotten, Karen and David were two people in the prison in season 4. Specifically, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they both came from Woodbury after the fall of Woodbury and after the governor just disappeared for the first time. And so they had moved in, and Karen had actually gotten in a relationship with Tyrese, who, one of my favorite characters of the series, actually. As I've been rewatching it, I forgot how awesome Tyrese was. Totally off tangent there, but so Karen and Tyrese kind of get in a relationship, and they're getting pretty serious and David, I gotta be honest, I don't remember much about David. He didn't stick out to me. I had to go double check his name and everything because he wasn't one of those characters that really stuck out as somebody that I really paid that much attention to. But those two wind up being killed by a mysterious person early on in season 4, right after an illness starts to break out in the prison. And as I was rewatching it, one of the first things that struck me, a little bit off topic of Carol, is the fact that they didn't have any guards keeping an eye on things. If you think about it, the entire moral dilemma that Carol had with killing Karen and David may not have even been a thing if there had been guards up and walking around and keeping an eye out for anything suspicious or odd or out of the, this was a situation where somebody died. They got sick. They died really fast. One of the kids, I can't remember his name. He was one of the older kids, but he died really fast and wound up killing other people. And then there was the whole thing. There was several zombies breaking out in one of the cell blocks, and it was just a mess, right? And if they had had a guard to take him out, if they had thought ahead of time that, hey, some of these people, what if somebody gets sick? What if somebody has a heart attack? They had some older people too. What if somebody has a heart attack and dies in their sleep, and then they come back and they reanimate? We should keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. In the zombie apocalypse, that's something you have to keep a close eye out no matter where you are. So if they had just done that, you might not have even had a situation where Carol would have felt the need to get rid of potential other sick people, right? But as it was, that doesn't happen. And so she winds up killing them. And her defense is a very utilitarian defense. And as we always do, we look at things from the utilitarian and deontological standpoints. And from a utilitarian standpoint, it kind of makes some sense what she did there, right? To a point. So she killed them to try to stop the spread of the illness. She thought, if I just kill Karen and David and burn the bodies, we can maybe keep the illness away and nobody else has to get sick, nobody else will die. Now that proves to be very, very wrong on her part. She kills them and it still spreads. Then there are still a lot of people that get sick and even more people that die from the illness before they eventually wind up being able to cure it. So ultimately, her attempt at a utilitarian solution didn't really work out all that well for her. Now, from a deontological standpoint, killing them would have been wrong completely. There's no realm, there's no world in which, from a deontological standpoint, it is okay to kill somebody just in case they might die. Because here's the deal. At the time, they had one person that had died that they knew of the illness. That person had bit other people. Those other people had died because they had been eaten by others. It was a whole outbreak, right? So they had no firm conclusion that this thing was going to kill other people. They didn't know the extent. They knew people were getting very sick, but there was no way to know for sure if some of those people would recover, how it would be. I read somewhere that they tried to model it after the 1918 Spanish flu, and that was a pandemic that particularly hit the young very, very hard. People with good immune systems were hit very hard with that kind of thing. But that's not always the case. Most of the time, whether it's a global pandemic like we had in 2020 or just general flu season and that kind of stuff every year, it affects people with weakened immune systems. That's why you go out and you get a vaccine, because the vaccine helps you and it helps your body to build up an immunity so that when you do come into contact with something, it's easier for your body to fight it off, right? Now, obviously, in the zombie apocalypse, you don't have vaccines. You just kind of got to go like we did before vaccines were even invented. You just kind of got to hope that you don't get sick, and if you do, you hope your body fights it off. But in this situation, there was no way that Carol could have, and she shouldn't have made that decision on her own, but she could not have known that this is going to be something that's going to rip through and it's going to kill a large number of people. You know, one person, and for all you know, he could have been immunocompromised. You know, you don't know what was wrong with him. Maybe he didn't have a good immune system, and that's why he died. And maybe Karen and David would have recovered. Now, it maybe didn't look like that. You know, maybe in Carol's eyes, she thought this is the right thing to do because I'm going to protect everybody else, because there's no way they're going to recover from this. But even in that circumstance, even when you try to justify it that way, she should not have made that decision on her own. But Carol specifically as a character, she's a very interesting character overall, because she goes from this, she's an abused spouse early on, right? She dealt with years of abuse from Ed. And then she goes through losing Ed, which even though he abused her, that's still a loss of a spouse. That's still kind of a big deal, right? She starts to kind of try to find her way, and then Sophia dies. And then Carol kind of just goes off the deep end, and she goes into full survival mode. I'm going to live. I'm going to make sure everybody else lives. Come hell or high water, I don't care what anybody says. And I've seen that even as I just finished rewatching season 5. She is this very much, she plays Susie Homemaker in season 5, right? As they find Alexandria. And she's just kind of trying to fit in and she's masking, and she's trying to pretend like she's something she's not. And she uses the idea of defending our group, saving our people to justify all of it. She is about as hardcore utilitarian as you can be, right? From Carol's perspective, she is the ideal utilitarian thinker. Whatever it takes, we sacrifice the few to save the many. We do what we have to do, come hell or high water. And most people aren't like that. And she knows that, you know. That's why Carol didn't go to the group. That's why she didn't talk to everybody and say, hey, I think we need to go ahead and maybe kill Karen and David and burn the bodies, because she knew that most of everybody else would have said, no. We'll keep an eye on them. If they die, then we'll handle it from there. She went ahead and did it herself. Now, the flip side to that is what happened with Rick when they go into town searching for supplies. And Rick decides, he made up his mind before he went, because she told him. She confided in Rick, thinking to herself probably that, Rick is a survivalist, he's kind of come around. He's more like Shane than he used to be, so he'll understand. And then she tells him, and he's like, no, that's not okay. You can't just act like that. Now, that changes later for him after the group gets separated, after the prison falls and all that kind of stuff. But in the moment, Rick is very much like, no, you can't just go about doing this stuff by yourself, and I can't trust you. And he leaves her, gives her some food, gives her some supplies, and sets her off on her own way and says, here, you go, you stay away from us. We're going to do our thing. You'll survive. You'll be fine. And that really was the best move that Rick could have made. It's easy to argue that, well, you can't just kick her out. First of all, she could be a threat. We've had that discussion before. Do you kick people out? They might come back with other group. What if she gets captured by some group and is like, oh, I was with some people at the prison, and you don't know what's going to happen. So there's that aspect of things. But in reality, you can't leave her. You can't keep her there because you can't trust her. And from Rick's perspective, or anybody else's perspective in the group, what happens if you get sick? What happens if you get a little bit of a cold or an illness, you're not feeling well, you're kind of under the weather? Is Carol going to just come around with a knife and start stabbing you because you're sick and you might not recover? That is a major, major problem. And And as soon as you were to tell Tyrese, you know, when if that came out before the prison falls, before Tyrese finds out, but if Tyrese had found out, if Carol had come back with Rick and been like, hey, yeah, so I killed Karen and David, not only is Tyrese going to lose his shit, he's going to be pissed off because his love interest is now dead and by the hands of somebody else. But it's also the rest of the group is going to ripple around. They're all going to see that. They're going to start questioning. Can we trust her? What's she going to do? I'm afraid to sneeze around her because if I sneezed the other day and she gave me a look and now I'm worried that she's going to like kill me in my sleep. It's a trust thing. And when you're working with a group, especially in the zombie apocalypse, one of the biggest things that you have to worry about is trust. If you can't trust the person next to you not to kill you, you're going to break down into what raiders wind up becoming. A lot of raider groups in the post-apocalyptic games and media in general, they wind up devolving into like anarchy and chaos, and the groups don't really last very long. They kind of like hop around and go because they can't trust that the person next to them is not going to kill them in their sleep. You know, in that situation for raider groups, it's usually over food or you know, treasure or whatever. But in this situation, it would be, can you trust the person next to you to not kill you because you have a runny nose? You know, that is a terrifying prospect. So the best thing Rick could do would be to get rid of her. Now, from his angle, kicking her out is the right move because he also can't make his own, you know, he shouldn't make a unilateral decision and say, well, I'm going to kill her, right? That's, you can't get back from that. But kicking her out leaves the possibility of running into her later, and they wind up running into her. It winds up being the right move overall because she kind of saves their ass when it comes to Terminus. And we're going to be talking about Terminus in another video as well. But, you know, from that angle, it does wind up being the right decision, but also it winds up being the right decision because you never know if Rick comes back and tells everybody and they're like, well, actually, we think she made the right choice. We need to go find her. You still have the opportunity to maybe find her and bring her back in. But I want to know what you all think about what Carol did and Rick's decision to leave her and kick her out of the group. Do you think that both decisions were right? Do you think that Carol was right or wrong for killing Karen and David? Do you think that she should have maybe left it up to the group? Do you think that she maybe should have waited and to see what would happen if maybe they would recover? And do you think that Rick was right or wrong for leaving her behind? Should he have brought her back? Should he have maybe killed her? Maybe he should have just taken matters into his own hand and said, no, we can't have this, and it's a risk to leave you out here, so I'm just going to go ahead and look at the flowers, Carol. You know, is that what should have happened in the long run? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Like I said earlier, we're going to be continuing on through the Walking Dead stuff. I've been rewatching it. I've been really, really busy lately, so this is the first upload I've had in a couple of weeks because I just have not had time to sit down and actually record, let alone I'm trying to continue my rewatch of the series because I want to make sure to hit all the points and take notes and that kind of thing. And it's been an interesting series as I've been taking notes on it. There's a lot of stuff I didn't notice the first time I watched it years ago, so getting through all of that, and we'll be talking about more of that. I do have plans for other series. Like I mentioned, I've got some fun stuff like the Walking Dead, obviously. Jurassic Park, I'm planning on talking about Jurassic Park, at least the first movie. I'm planning on talking about the Hunger Games because there's some really interesting moral dilemmas in that series, and I've got a few others on the plate as well. So if you're interested in any of that, leave a comment down below. Let me know any series or what you would like to see broken down, but also subscribe to the channel, like this video to let me and YouTube know that you enjoyed the video. I've got a Patreon. I've got Patreon and channel memberships. Those go a long way towards helping me to continue making these kind of things, continuing to get access to things that I need to be able to record the footage and that kind of stuff because I record all of my own footage for these videos. So all of that stuff is available for anybody that's interested. But with that all being said, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.